All right. So are you ready to dive into some seriously mind-bending stuff today?
Always.
Okay, good, because we're tackling this question, right? And it's kind of freaky. Is our reality constantly rewriting itself? Is that even, is that even possible?
Yeah, it's a big one.
It is a big one. So we've got all these different sources, right? Like from physics to cosmology, even social psychology.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating is how much they all seem to point to this idea that reality might be way more, what's the word? Malleable. Yeah, than we think.
Malleable, yeah, changeable.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's talk about these sources, right?
Yeah.
So we've got the field, which is all about cutting-edge physics and this hidden energy field that connects everything.
Right, and then you've got the hidden reality, which gets into these whoa, totally mind-bending concepts like the holographic universe, right? And parallel dimensions.
Okay, so we're already pretty far down the rabbit hole. But wait, there's more. We've also got the memory illusion to see how our memories, even our own memories, can be surprisingly unreliable, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And just to make things even more interesting, we'll be looking at this document, Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars.
Oh.
Which suggests that there might be ways to actually manipulate society. And then a book on the Mandela effect.
Oh, wow.
Exploring the theory that some people remember Nelson Mandela dying earlier than he did.
That's a classic.
I know, it sounds a little out there.
Yeah.
But stick with us. There's some seriously thought-provoking stuff in all of this.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so let's start with something we can all relate to, right? Memory.
Right.
So the memory illusion, this book, it makes a really compelling case that our memories, they're not, perfect recordings of the past.
No.
They're always being reconstructed, and they're vulnerable to all sorts of distortions.
Right, yeah, they're super malleable, actually.
So it's not just that I can't remember where I put my keys. It's my whole perception of what happened could be totally wrong.
Totally.
Really?
Yeah, the book actually gives this example of a study where they convinced people that they had committed a crime as a child, even though they hadn't.
No way.
Yeah, and these weren't vague impressions or anything. They remembered vivid details, and they totally believed they were true.
Wow, that's kind of creepy. Has anyone ever challenged your version of events? That argument you had with a friend, did it really happen the way you remember it?
That's a good question. Makes you think.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we've got this other area where reality seems to get a bit fuzzy.
Yeah.
And that's the quantum realm.
Oh, yes.
So the hidden reality, this book, it lays out this central mystery of quantum mechanics.
Okay.
Which is the idea that particles exist in a state of probability and only collapse into a definite state when they're observed. So I'm picturing a coin toss. Before it lands, it could be heads or tails, right?
Yeah.
And it's only when we look at it that, we know for sure. Is that what you're talking about?
That's a great analogy, actually. It captures the whole essence of this observer effect.
Okay.
Which basically suggests that consciousness, our consciousness, right, might actually be intertwined with the fabric of reality.
Wait, so our observations are literally shaping reality?
It's a possibility.
So do we have more power than we realize then?
That's the million-dollar question.
It is a pretty big question.
It's a concept that's still being debated by physicists.
Okay.
But it's a really intriguing one.
My mind is already blown, and we're just getting started.
I know, right?
So tell me more about the field book,
Okay.
and this idea of a hidden energy field that connects everything.
So the field explores this thing called the zero-point field, and it's basically the sea of energy that exists even in a perfect vacuum. So the book argues that this field isn't just, some theoretical concept, but it's a fundamental aspect of reality.
And it connects everything at the most basic level.
So you're saying that even seemingly empty space is buzzing with energy.
Exactly.
And that this energy is somehow linking everything in the universe.
Yeah, it really challenges our conventional understanding of what empty even means.
So this is kind of I'm trying to picture it. It's this
It's a big concept.
It is a big concept. So then the field highlights this research on biophotons. What are biophotons?
So biophotons suggest that cells actually communicate through light and could even potentially influence each other instantaneously, even across vast distances.
Wait, so instantaneously, as in faster than the speed of light? How is that even possible?
Yeah, it's a phenomenon that really pushes the boundaries of our current understanding of physics. But there is growing evidence that this non-local communication might actually be real.
Yeah.
What if, like, our thoughts, our emotions are also part of this interconnected field? Okay, that is wild. It really makes you see the world around you differently, knowing there might be this hidden energy field connecting us all.
Yeah, it really does make you, like, rethink things, doesn't it?
It makes you wonder just how much we actually know about reality.
Right.
It's like we're just scratching the surface.
Exactly. And if we're talking about things that challenge our understanding of reality, we have to talk about the holographic principle.
I like
Have
it.
you heard about this?
I have heard of it, yeah.
Okay. So
Fill me in. What's that all about?
it suggests that, like, everything we perceive as three-dimensional, like this table, this microphone might actually be information that's projected from a two-dimensional surface.
Wait, so you're telling me that everything we see and touch, this whole world, might just be like a giant, super complex TV screen?
Yeah, it's a pretty wild idea, right?
It is.
But the hidden reality, this book, dives into this concept and explains that it's not just some sci-fi idea.
Right.
There's actually scientific evidence that supports the possibility of a holographic universe.
Okay, so I'm trying to, like, really wrap my head around this.
Yeah.
So, if the universe is like a hologram, where is all the information being projected from?
Well, that's one of the big questions, right? Some theories suggest that it could be coming from, like, the boundary of the universe.
Okay.
Like a cosmic projector just beaming out the entire show.
That's wild.
It is pretty wild.
Okay, so I gotta ask, does this holographic universe idea, does it connect in any way to this whole The Field book and the 0-point field? Are they linked somehow?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And the answer might be yes, actually. Think about it. If everything is interconnected through the 0-point field, it could be the very medium through which the information of the holographic universe is transmitted, and received.
Whoa.
Yeah, and the field even gets into this this model of the brain,
Okay.
Carl Pribram's holographic model of the brain. And it suggests that our brains might actually function like holograms, processing information in this distributed wave-like manner.
So our brains are like mini holograms within a larger holographic universe.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, okay, all right, so while we're on the topic of totally mind-bending possibilities,
Oh, yeah.
let's talk about parallel universes.
Okay, sure.
I know the hidden reality touches on that too.
Yeah, absolutely. It explores the possibility of parallel universes not just as, like, a sci-fi trope, but as a serious theoretical possibility, like arising from physics.
So there could be like countless other versions of ourselves out there living out different versions of our lives.
It's a possibility.
Okay, that's both really exciting and also like a little overwhelming to think about. But we've talked about how reality might be malleable at like a fundamental level.
Right.
But what about the possibility of more intentional manipulation? That's where this Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars document comes in.
Yeah, exactly. So, Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars and this other book called Propaganda by Edward Bernays suggest that individuals and groups might actually have the power to, like, manipulate reality through information control and, psychological techniques.
Okay, it's a pretty chilling thought.
Yeah.
It really makes you wonder, are we, like, more susceptible to this kind of manipulation than we realize? The memory illusion already showed us, how unreliable our memories can be.
Right, exactly. And Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars lays out some, pretty unsettling strategies for controlling public perception.
Like what?
Things like, controlling access to information, promoting consumerism, manipulating the education system, stuff like that.
That's kind of scary.
Yeah, it
It
is.
really makes you think twice about all the information you're exposed to every day.
Yeah.
I mean, how do we even know what's real anymore? Could some of these Mandela effects, like, people remembering Nelson Mandela dying earlier than he did, could those be examples of this kind of manipulation?
It's possible, although a lot of people would disagree.
Yeah.
The book on the Mandela effect that we have, it explores different theories, including, like, the idea that these discrepancies could point to parallel realities or even, like, a deliberate manipulation of timelines.
So maybe these Mandela effects aren't just glitches in our memory.
Right.
Maybe they're glimpses into these alternate timelines, where things happen differently.
It's definitely a fascinating possibility.
It is.
But even if we, like, put aside the whole Mandela effect thing for a second, the idea that our reality can be manipulated on a large scale, that's a pretty, that's a pretty heavy thought.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
But you know what? The field offers a more, like, empowering perspective, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Because it suggests that we might also have the power to shape reality internally,
Okay.
through our thoughts and intentions.
Right. So this is where the concept of a consciousness field comes in. The idea is that, like, our minds aren't isolated, They're not just these separate things. They're actually interconnected with each other.
Yeah.
And with the universe at a deeper level.
So it's like our thoughts and intentions are kind of like ripples in this consciousness field.
Exactly.
And those ripples are like potentially influenced the reality that we experience.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Which, I mean, that ties in with those experiments from the field, right? Where people's intentions demonstrably influence those random number generators.
Right, exactly. Those experiments suggest that the power of intention might be more than just, wishful thinking.
Right.
And then there's those global consciousness experiments
Okay.
where random number generators around the world seem to, like, react to major events like 9/11. Like, it's as if there was this collective surge of emotion, right?
Yeah.
And it actually, like, registered on these devices.
So our shared beliefs and emotions could be like shaping the course of history.
That's what it seems to be pointing to.
That's a pretty powerful thought.
It is.
A little scary, but powerful.
Yeah, I mean, it highlights how important it is to, become conscious creators of our reality. We need to be mindful of our thoughts and beliefs because they might actually have a real impact on the world around us.
Okay, so we've explored some pretty mind-blowing concepts today, right?
Yeah.
Like the holographic universe, parallel dimensions, the power of intention. But I feel like it's time to try and connect all these threads, right?
Yeah.
And try to answer this big question. Is reality constantly rewriting itself?
Mhm.
What do you think?
Well, it's a question that doesn't really have a simple yes or no answer, right?
Right.
But I think what we've seen from these sources is that reality is a lot more fluid and dynamic than we usually assume, right?
Yeah.
And it's like shaped by our perceptions, our beliefs, our intentions, and maybe even forces that we don't even fully understand yet.
So it's not necessarily that reality is like being erased and rewritten like a computer program,
No.
but more that it's constantly like evolving and changing, right? Based on this complex interplay of factors.
Exactly, yeah. And that evolution can be influenced by, both internal and external factors. So the memory illusion showed us how easily our memories can be distorted, right?
Right.
And that shapes our personal realities.
Right.
And then Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars revealed how, information control, propaganda can actually manipulate perceptions on a larger scale.
Yeah.
And then we've got the field presenting, all this evidence for the power of intention and this, like, interconnectedness of consciousness.
So we're not just passive observers in this like fixed reality.
No, not at all.
We're like active participants, co-creating the world around us with our thoughts, our beliefs, our actions. It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
Right.
Where does that leave us with things like the Mandela effect?
Yeah.
And these like seemingly inexplicable shifts in reality.
Right. That's where things get really interesting. So while some explanations for the Mandela effect might seem a little out there, like, CERN opening portals to other dimensions, it does raise the question of whether there are, like, forces at play that we're only starting to, like, glimpse, right?
Yeah.
Maybe our understanding of time and space is not as fixed as we think.
Yeah.
Maybe those parallel universes from the hidden reality aren't so far-fetched after all.
It's a little unsettling to think that our reality might be more malleable
Yeah.
and less certain than we thought before, but I have to admit, it's also incredibly exciting.
Oh, for sure.
It opens up so many possibilities.
Oh, right.
So what would you say to someone who's feeling a bit overwhelmed by all of this? Should we be questioning like everything we see and hear?
I think a healthy amount of skepticism is always good, Question your assumptions, explore different perspectives, but don't get too lost down like a rabbit hole of paranoia. Reality might be more fluid than we once thought, but it's not, like, chaotic, right?
Right.
It's not meaningless. We still have the power to create meaning and purpose in our lives.
I like that. So I guess the journey doesn't end here. We've got to keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep pushing those boundaries of what we think we know. Who knows what we'll discover on the other side, right?
Exactly. And maybe the most important discovery is realizing that we're not just observers in this, in this whole grand cosmic play. We're actually the authors of our own stories, the creators of our own realities.
That's a great way to put it. And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the self-erasing universe. We hope you enjoyed it. Keep those minds open, keep exploring, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.